Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
again, and welcome to another episode of the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. If you're listening to this show on the podcast, this is episode 229. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
And I don't know about you guys, I felt a little bit at a loose end this weekend. No Caps games to go to, no USL game to go to. SFU UBC's season is now kind of...
Well, they're away. They were
away,
they were
but
away.
they're now both over.
Yeah.
Thankfully, the rain went off for a couple of hours on Saturday, and I just said to my wife, "Is that the rain off?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I was like, "Okay, see ya, I'm off to a VMSL game." Just had to get my football fix. It's tough, and now we've got weeks, months before we get to see the Whitecaps back in action. For some people, that might feel like a good thing, though.
It sounds like you both missed out on the highlight of the footballing week, which was the Canadian women's national team at BC Place.
I did miss out on that because I was meant to be going over to the island to commentate on the CCAA final, but some things happened. I won't go into all the details, and I couldn't make it over. And I couldn't be arsed basically going to BC Place on Thursday night.
No, I was going to go, but scheduling conflicts, I had to take my kid to skating. Wife had to go somewhere else, but I watched the game on TV, and it was a fantastic game.
It was a good time. It was
so enjoyable.
It was enjoyable to watch.
And they were attacking. They weren't scared of playing in the U.S. It was like, it was very good soccer.
We are going to talk Whitecaps. I know it's kind of sad, but we kind of have to do it. Their end-of-season availability took place this week, and there was some interesting stuff came out of that. Robbo and Bobby Lenarduzzi spoke first. 27 minutes between them they spoke. And we're going to bring you some of that audio tonight. Obviously not the whole 27 minutes, because I don't think anyone wants to sit or listen to that. But we're going to kick off part one with some of the stuff that Robbo said and some of the stuff that came out of what he said. So before we get into that, let's just right away just play a little bit of audio, some of the stuff that I asked Robbo, and then we'll come back and talk about some of the things he talked about in general. How much turnover are you expecting this off-season?
Lots. I think we have to do it. I think we're at a point in time where we're always looking to improve quality. The league is becoming better and better. We know that. The standard of player coming in is better, so we have to evolve. It's important you keep hunger, freshness, but we've got a nucleus of a really good squad. So I will look to probably some of the fringe players on the outside will look to freshen up a little bit. Obviously, it depends on international slots as well, and it depends on what personnel we can find. It might be in July that we're able to find one or two players, which, I've got my eye on at the moment. It might be now in January. So the club have to make some difficult decisions, and we will. And as I said, there's no emotion involved. It's, we're all humans, but we're here to win. It's finding the balance of winning, but doing things correctly. But just be better squad-wise, be better team-wise, because as I said there, we finished 1 point short, so we know we need to try and find a point somewhere.
What's your
Sorry.
plans for the off-season? Are you going to do another scouting trip down to South America?
I am, yes. I'll be going to a number of places, so you probably won't get hold of me now for another 3 months, which will probably be good for you guys and ladies. I'll be doing lots of, I know who I want to try and sign now, but obviously they're contracted to clubs and they're in situations, so I can't sort of tell you. But I will be going scouting to probably 3 or 4 different countries. I've got my targets that I want now. And if we can add these 3-4 players to what we've got already, the core group of players, we'll be fine. And if we can hit the ground running and get off to a good start, what do I regret about this year? Maybe picking up 1 point at the first 4 games. You asked me about the end of the season. It probably wasn't that. It was the start of the season. I focused on the Champions League, getting past Red Bulls and Tigres, and I probably lost track on the first 4 MLS games, and I was okay with it because we achieved a goal, but picking up 1 point out of the first 4 games probably come back to bite us on the backside later in the season, which proved right, so that's what I learned.
There's been a lot of bites on the backside this season. I think I need to add that to the bingo card.
My disappointment on the backside of that little clip was he's the gaffer. Well,
I didn't
that.
go with it because it was a short clip and we've got a packed show.
Yeah.
Trying to fit all this into 2 hours could be tricky tonight, actually. We might have to keep some stuff over. Interesting thing for me there was Robbo was talking about how we're all humans. Russell Tybert has also made a comment about how we're all humans.
That was last year, right?
Yeah, I'm starting to think that this is some kind of Westworld-like conspiracy theory, and they're throwing us off the scent that everyone at the Whitecaps is robots. We might even be robots, and we don't know it.
The other thing is a show that I liked, Community. Their mascot was the humans, and it was just somebody in a plain bodysuit as a human. So maybe it's a theme.
Yeah. Are we humans or are we dancer? I believe is a popular song amongst the college kids these days.
Or 30 years ago.
I don't know. Regrets on the season. Robbo mentioned it at the end there. I didn't ask him about it, but he just asked himself the question. He likes to do that. And during interviews, he poses himself a lot of questions and then answers them. He says his big regret in the season, not the way he played in Seattle, but the way that they started the season, which 1 point from the first 4 games, prioritising Champions League. To me, that is no bad thing at all. I don't see why you'd have any regrets from that, really.
I'm going to read between the lines again, like we have done in the past.
You're good at that.
Yeah. We've discussed this in the past. You're right. I agree with you, Michael. Prioritizing Champions League was the right thing to do. It's the biggest opportunity the club's had, the biggest competition they've ever played in. They
exactly.
were in the quarterfinals. They made it to the semifinals.
Best opponent and some players that we'll probably ever see the
at a club
Whitecaps
level
for a while.
Yes, totally. The problem was that they didn't. That the club as a whole did not do more to get their MLS matches moved. We saw it this year. We've seen it virtually every year when MLS teams are in the Champions League at that
Dallas
stage of the
seems to
season.
manage it.
They make it happen. Whether it's a financial thing, whether it's a relational thing, whatever it is, they didn't do enough to make it happen. And I don't think that is so much on Robbo. Maybe he plays a role, but that's more the football committee. They needed to do more. Greg Kerfoot, we always hear Greg Kerfoot and Jeff Mallet, they sit on committees with MLS. They needed to do whatever it took to get those games changed. Instead, they settled for a free charter flight from San Jose down to Monterey and back. I'm not sure if that's factual, but that's things I've heard.
Oh, who that's facts?
Yeah, when has that ever stopped us?
Let's
no,
go.
but seriously, that's what's disappointing about that.
For me, reading between the lines, it was more a case of he's looking at how the league table finished and thinking 1 point, 2 extra points at the start would have maybe given them the win. Bobby Lenarduzzi talked about it, that they didn't really want to have this home playoff game against San Jose. Don't know why he made them extra money. He got them 5 goals.
I think
he wanted first ever win.
He wanted to make the point that they'd rather finish first.
Yes,
and get,
he did. But my regrets on the season is how they approached the Seattle game in terms of not having enough shots. And we did that to death last week, but I mean, that's my big regret. But something that both Robbo and Lenarduzzi both talked about is You can't judge the Whitecaps season on those Seattle games. I think it's natural, though, for fans to do that because you remember how the season ended.
Always.
You don't remember how it started or the stuff in the middle. But both Robbo and Lenarduzzi said that the Whitecaps season should be judged on their body of work. So is that fair? And if that's fair, was it a successful season looking at it season long?
I think it's fair to look at the whole season, the season as a whole, sorry. But we talked about it last week.
Yeah.
And
with no silverware.
No silverware. Okay, the Champions League semifinal I think was special and is memorable, but they didn't win anything. And you need to win the Voyageurs Cup. You need to put more into that, and we chose not to. We were intentional about not putting more into that. And that's a huge letdown, and I think it's not great for, especially when it's early in the season, unlike the 1 year we have won it in 2015, where it was an August final. When it's early in the season, it has the opportunity to propel you forward. I know some people say that August one drug us down. I don't fully agree with that, but it has opportunity to change the trajectory of your season. And to also be like, yeah, this year we won something. Same thing with the Cascadia Cup. So many people felt good about how last year ended. They hated the season as a whole, but it felt really good because they won the Cascadia Cup, they beat Portland, they knocked Portland out of the playoffs.
Well, that was something Robbo said as well, which I initially had in the clip that I played, but I cut it out because you can see all this on the Caps website. He basically said that folk looked at that game and finished on a high, and he felt that was an unrealistic view of the season.
Yeah.
Which is why he was then saying that the Seattle game was an unrealistic view of this season because there had been so much work done before it. And we'll talk a little bit in part 2 about expectations because Bobby touched on it. But
and that's fair, but it comes back to what you've already said. And people just can't get past the way that they went out to Seattle. That's the big problem.
You always have a lasting memory of the last game that you saw.
And that's why
it was a great 4-1 thing. And if it had been a second leg in Seattle and we'd lost and we'd gone out, folk would probably still be on a high because they'd remember the 5-0 in San Jose because that was the game they attended.
Yeah, and that's why I'm thankful for the women's game this week.
For me, it is an overall disappointment to the end of the season. But like we talked about last week, do I judge it as a successful season? I do, just slightly to the successful side. I'm very much on the border because they did have an improvement in points and standing and everything.
Yeah.
The one thing he really wanted to do was shore up the defense. I think he did that this year. It's a very solid defensive play. They did improve in their attacking a little bit, but there were games where they just disappeared and had nothing. And that was the problem. The inconsistency in the attacking was the issue, and that comes from the midfield. And I think that was probably overall the biggest disappointment. The midfield just had nothing there, and I don't think he did enough in the offseason. He tried to do it late in the year with Gasol and Igabor, but it was just a little bit too late for that.
Yeah, and if you look at this season, it was the Whitecaps' second best ever season in MLS in terms of points and wins and everything like that. So there is that. The best ever season was in 2015. Both of them ended very disappointingly with semi-final losses where they didn't score, they didn't put up much of a fight, and you were left with, ultimately, a disappointing end. That season in 2015 didn't lead to a massive turnover of the playing staff. Instead, it actually led to the signing of the core, getting guys like Kendall Waston, Matty Laba, David Ousted on long-term deals.
Yeah.
This season, that isn't going to be happening. And you had Robbo...
The core's changed.
Yeah.
Quite a bit.
Well, yeah.
In his eyes.
We're kind of going to look again later on as to what I feel that the team is going to get built around. But Robbo said there, lots of turnover expected.
Yeah.
And he talked about a lot of the fringe guys that he's hoping to move on. It's going to be way more than the fringe guys, though, that it's getting turned over here.
What it is going to be, it's going to be the old starters that used to be regular starters. Guys like Harvey, guys like Ousted, obviously, Bolaños, a couple other guys that I'm probably forgetting. Laba, obviously.
Oh, yeah, Laba.
Yeah, so those guys, I don't call them fringe players, but I call them the old guard, and they're going to be moving on.
And there will be fringe players move on as well. Cole Seiler, Ben McKendry, those kind of guys.
And the replacements for those guys I just mentioned are almost on the team already. I think the only one is Bola's, not the other. But Ousted's got Marinovic, De Jong has Harvey, and Gazal has Laba's position. So that he's kind of replaced those. When he says bring in 4 core players, I think he means to the top of the lineup. He wants to bring 4. I think there's gonna be a lot more turnover in the bottom of the ranks, but I think like I said, I thought they would need 2 starters and 2 key backups, and all 4 almost in the attacking roles. So I think that's where they're looking at. And then when he says bring in 4 core players, I think he's meaning in that like 18 to 22 player range.
Yeah, I think there are massive changes that are coming, like significant changes that are coming. Some I think we already know about, some maybe we don't know about.
I think there could be at least 1, maybe 2 surprises. And how fans will react to that is going to be interesting.
Never a dull moment.
One guy that could come back, might come back, probably won't be coming back. Fredy Montero. We've talked about it all season. We've talked about various stuff. Let's hear now from Robbo, Bobby Lenarduzzi, and Montero himself just about how the negotiations are going about bringing our star striker back to the team.
Fredy Montero's situation, is the club able to bring him in? Do you have the money available to do what it takes?
Yeah, listen, I've got a meeting with Fredy now, so maybe you caught me 20 minutes too early. We'll sit down with Fredy and his agent. He's contracted to his team in China. We know that. He's still got a lengthy contract on significant money. So, if the Chinese club want him back, then obviously Freddie's going to be going back to China. We don't own Fredy. We loan Fredy for this season. He's done a great job for us, scoring 30-odd goals. So it's a conversation I'll have with Fredy and his agent and the club over the next few weeks.
But if they don't want him back, would you have the funds available to bring him in?
Well, Freddie's on a very good salary at the moment, and Fredy and his family will decide what money he's willing to take or not willing to take. So there's a number of factors that go into that. It's not as simple as would I want Fredy Montero.
In the addition of Fredy Montero, he was a great addition this year. He's got so many goals, his best ever MLS season. If he wants to come and the club are happy to sell him, is the money there to keep him here?
That's a premature question, because we really need to sit down with Fredy and determine what his desires are and what his status is with the Chinese club. There hasn't been a lot of dialogue in that regard, but that's something that we'll be able to shed a greater light on within the next 2, 3, 4 weeks.
Fredy, do you want to come back next season?
Yes, I have a good time here. Yeah, for sure.
Fredy, what's the more likely destination for you, though, Vancouver or China?
Honestly, China, because I still have 1 more year of contract with them. So that's the only thing that I have for sure now.
Are you willing to take less money to come here? There's all these things in the air that we're asking about money, but like your future. But how much do you want to come back here, and what would you be willing to do to make that possible?
What I have learned about soccer, it's you need to take your chances when you have it, because it's difficult as a player to have the team that you want to play, the money that you want to earn, and being an important part of the team, And for me, it's to continue here. It has to depends on both teams. I do want to keep going with Vancouver Whitecaps. However, there is one part of the team in China that have to be done by them, and the other part by MLS as well. So I'm kind of in the middle of the negotiation if they have to go through,
So some very interesting things there. First thing we have to look about, Bobby saying it was premature to ask that question. How? It's the end of the season.
Yeah. It's not premature. It's not a premature question. These are things that to come off sounding like, we'll see how that plays out. No, they already know. They already have a pulse on what's going to happen and what's not going to happen, right? Part of this, you go back to the loan signing. Is there an option to buy? No. Well, that's the first time I think we've ever had a loan or given a loan without an option to buy.
It was
Why is
one
that?
of the very first questions I asked, and it was told we own his rights.
Know
that was the fudgy answer that we got.
It may not have played out, but they definitely know where it's at, and
yes.
they definitely know 95% which direction it's going.
Okay, let's play devil's advocate. Let's just pretend
Get behind me, Satan.
that neither Fredy or the club have had any discussions about his future. Why would you not have had some discussions? Surely you would have reached out to the Chinese club or made some feelers or something.
Well, let me ask you a question, Michael. When is the last time that the Vancouver Whitecaps had a player score a whole bunch of goals and then they chose not to talk to him? How did that go?
I believe it was a little Brazilian guy. Kami something, I think.
Exactly.
Magic.
Where's he now? He's
Mexico.
Living large. Making millions.
Well, there you go. So it worked out good for him. Freddie's base salary is 1.4 million. At least that's what's on the books. His guaranteed compensation, 1.8 million.
Yeah.
Now,
that Vancouver's paying.
Yes. The question that was asked there was, what would you do to make it possible to come back here?
Someone's paying it.
Yeah, for sure.
So
he's not going to go without the money.
A footballer's life to earn money is a limited one. Why would he give up the chance to earn a bigger salary just to come to be in this part of the world? Is a quality of life in Vancouver worth more to him having a long-term financial future?
Did he not?
It's only 1 year, though. It's not like he's giving up multiple years. It's 1 year that he's giving up.
But who knows what his future might be though after that?
I'm not saying that he's going to do it. I'm not saying that people, like a lot of people do this, but some people do choose to live in a better place, in a better part of the world, and give up money.
Yes. Okay.
It has happened.
Who? Tell me who.
I'm not going to give examples because I don't know right now off the top of my head.
Me, I guess.
I was going to say, the only one I can think of.
Well, if you want to say that, I have options to work in more money, but then I'd be working 40, 50 hours weeks, and I don't want to do that. That's not my lifestyle. So I choose to work in a place that maybe I'll make less money, but I have a better lifestyle. But there are hockey players that do that. There are football players that do that. There's other sports. Every other sport, somebody will take less money to go to a place either to have a better chance of winning a championship, live in a place where it's more like it's closer to home, it's closer to family. It happens.
Well, look at
I'm not saying Montero should do
those
this.
sports you mentioned though. Are only played in certain parts of the world.
Yeah, I'm going to say Vardy at Leicester. He chose to stay with that club, whereas he could have got a big money deal and gone to Arsenal.
Yeah, but he's still getting
he's still getting a good deal.
The only person I can think of in the footballing world that's local for us is what's his name?
I don't know.
Mike Salmon. He was the keeper coach at Arsenal and chose to come to Vancouver for quality of life. And I don't know. I didn't ask him details on the.
I'm sorry if I have a choice. If like say for example, I've made a ton of money. My family's set up, and it's only 1 year. If I have a choice to give up a little bit of money, I'm not saying give up all, like go half. I'm not saying go 50%. But if I'm willing to give up some money, I would do that.
That's the thing, though, Steve. The reports are less than half.
That I wouldn't expect him to come back for that.
Yeah.
That I would not. If that reports are what those reports are, then no.
Well, Robbo's comments there were very interesting because he had basically said, well, it's up to Fredy and his family as to what they want to take. But again, if you want to read between the lines, is like, we're not going to offer him what he's wanting. It's up to him if he wants to do that. Why should he show loyalty to a club and a league that in a split second they'll ship you out?
No, I agree. If it's less than half, then no way do I come back, and no way do I give up half my money. But if it's a partial sum, if it's 10, 20% maybe at the most, then I would do that. But I wouldn't do any more than that.
So you heard there in the audio, he basically said it's a limited opportunity in football where you get to play where you're paid what you think you're worth and the situation is right, and opportunity, all that. And he basically, you can't blame him for wanting to make the most money for his family.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
No, if he chooses to go to China, I have no blame for him.
Yeah.
But you're saying that nobody ever does this. Nobody does this. And I think that some people might.
Now, let's just finish this part with two very quick questions, and I just want quick answers so we don't go too much overrun.
I'll go first.
First of all, is it weird, like to get Montero, the Caps gave up future GAM, future TAM, 2018 GAM and TAM. Is it weird to give up money for a player that you might not have the year that you've just given that allocation money up in?
Yeah, I would say it was because Gam and Tam, whatever they gave up expires. I say it is worth it. It all depends on how much they have, and we don't know ever.
Well, yeah, that's the thing.
So that's the thing. We're never going to know.
You don't know how much more we've got, because we have earned Gam and stuff
because of the Champions League.
Yeah, and because of how far we went in the playoffs.
Yeah, so I say it is worth it, and because of the season he had.
We live in a culture of instant gratification. Yeah, I think the people making the decisions on this felt it was absolutely worth it. You need to do well. I mean, the example I think mostly about this is doing something crazy and hopefully it pays off is Caleb Porter in 2015. He mid-season paid $5 million for, what's his name?
Addy?
No,
Valeri?
Mello, the winger guy.
Asprilla?
No, I can't remember his name now. This is killing me.
Maddox?
No, he's, I think, Argentine. He was awful. Anyways, that year they made the playoffs and they won the cup.
Mm-hmm.
And he scored one of the goals against Dallas, one of the crazy goals against Dallas. But it was at the time people were like, "Why are you paying $5 million for this guy who people don't know?"
Yeah, I mean, the other thing is we could have given up Gam and Tam next year. That stops us spending money on a player that then we don't have a good year. But as Steve said, and as Zach said, instant gratification. It's all that really kind of matters.
2019, he'll be on a free transfer.
Yes,
and he will have his rights, MLS rights,
and he loves it here.
Yeah.
You heard that. So, quick yes or no? Are you expecting to see Montero back as a Whitecap next season?
I switched from my in and outs. I'm saying he's out now.
Yep. Zach?
Oh yeah, he's out.
Yeah, I don't expect to see him back. So we wish you well. Thank you for your service, Fredy. We'll probably find some other nationality for Zach to call a player next season. But we'll be back with more chat and some of the stuff from Bob Lenarduzzi after this.
Hi, I'm Carl Robinson. You're listening to the AFTN podcast.
There's a lot of folk not happy, I guess, with how the Whitecaps season panned out. Gorillas there, Clint Eastwood, the good, the bad and the ugly. I think we saw a lot of that from the Whitecaps this season. We've got a lot of that in the show tonight.
You got a lot about that at the post-season interviews as
yes.
well.
There's 27 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, that was a long day. I actually missed the press conference for the US Canadian women's national team because I was waiting for Timmy Parker. So I got to speak to Timmy. He will be coming up later in the show. Very interesting chat I had with him as well. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of British Columbia. Heard from Robbo in the first part. Going to hear a little bit from Bobby Lenarduzzi now, and then just talk about some of the things that came out of what Bobby said that we're going to play for you, and some other stuff as well. So let's just hear some of the things that Bobby had to say on Tuesday.
Like, looking back at the season now then, Bobby, what's your overriding feeling? Did you exceed expectations, or was it not quite what you were hoping for in the end?
Well, I cast my mind back to this time last year, and we hadn't made the playoffs. And that was very disappointing, given the fact that in terms of the evolution of the club, that we had managed to get a little bit better every season. So that was a huge step back, and our objective was to make sure we got back to the playoffs. And given the fact that we did that, and we were playing for the conference championship on the last game of the season, that was a bit clouded simply because of the fact we could have actually wrapped that up sooner, but we didn't. So there was a negativity that crept in towards the end of the season, and that's understandable. So, but the fact that we got ourselves to the playoffs, the fact that we had a home playoff game, which we probably would have preferred not to have had, but we had it, and we got the job done against them. And then over 2 games against Seattle, right up to 55 minutes, in spite of the fact that there wasn't a lot of attack, it was still a game, and it took a moment of brilliance from Dempsey to get their noses in front. So overall, I would say we got ourselves back to where we wanted to be in terms of in the playoffs. We got ourselves a playoff win. That monkey's off our back. And but now what we need to do is we need to, which we already have done, assess the squad, look at what the upgrades could be to ensure that we give ourselves a chance to not just get to the conference semifinals for 2 out of the last 3 years, but actually get beyond that and ideally the championship game.
What does this club need to do then to get to that next level, to compete regularly with the likes of Seattle and Toronto and get to finals and MLS Cups?
Well, I think it's the players that we will be looking to bring on board to join the core of the squad we've got. One of the things that I felt that our staff did a great job of last year was making mid-season additions and not having the performance dip. Quite often when you bring in players in the July window, there's an issue with players' minutes and how many games have they played. And in our case, we got Marinovic, we got Gazal. Both came in, and certainly in the case of Marinovic, hit the ground running. Gazal got better and better. And then we signed Nosa right near the end of the transfer window, who was not fit when he came in. But after the 3 games that he played, I think we're feeling like this guy could be a solid midfield. Well, I think he will be a solid midfielder in this league. So we've actually set it up so that I think there's a handful of positions that we need to address. And if we can do that, then I think we'll be not just getting to the conference semifinals, but ideally getting to the finals and beyond that.
So Bob Lenarduzzi there, so some of the stuff that he said in the post-season presser on Tuesday. So we want to talk about a couple of the things just now. Now, he talked about meeting the expectations, because the expectations were the playoffs. How long are fans going to be happy just to put up with that? What's the point if there's not more ambition to go and watch the team over the course of a season? If you're just happy to make the playoffs, are fans going to still want to go along?
Oh, well, you're definitely not going to have the casual fans. That's for sure. You can see in other teams in this city, this is a bandwagon city. And the majority of people that come to I don't know majority, but a lot of people that come to these games are just coming out because of the atmosphere that everybody advertises. They want to be part of Zach. They want to be part of the, yeah. Well, Zach back of Zach's head.
It's the best part of him.
But that's essentially. So I think right now that they're okay, but I agree with you that if it keeps going on for like 5 years or whatever, there will be a drop off, and we saw a little bit of a drop off this year. But people obviously came out for the San Jose and Seattle games by the end of the year, and they sold out. So that's interesting.
I think and again, this is something we've talked about in the past. I think the difference is when you approach things as a football business as opposed to a football club, a community, the difference is you're always just trying to sell tickets. You're always just trying to get people in and hope they come back because of your marketing, because of the quality of play, because of the results. But when you build a community, when you build people that like love the club, love the team, want to be there no matter what, you're not stuck worrying about that as much.
Yeah.
And that has not happened at the level I think it could have in the MLS era. And that's one of the I think the biggest regrets of kind of the trajectory of the club as a whole.
They need to work on that because, like I said, the casuals will leave.
Oh yeah,
and so you have to have a strong relationship with the people that are coming out every game, no matter like you put out a poll. And I'm assuming like you have the results for that right now?
Yep. It only went out late tonight, so it's only been up for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Got 140 votes. Not bad for 4 hours voting on a Sunday night. I posed the question, how long do you keep attending or caring about the club if all they do is make the playoffs and then go out right away? 61% said forever. They're my team.
That's the supporters.
That's heartening.
Yeah.
To be fair, most of the folk that follow me are going to be kind of the supporters, so they're more the hardcore. 21% though said, what would be the point?
Yeah, that's the casuals.
Or what would be the pont, as I actually put it, because it's all about bridges.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you.
Talk about building bridges.
Yeah.
19% said they'd only put up with that for a few more seasons. Then they would kind of have to.
I think that's
take a call.
the middling supporters.
Yeah.
I'm saying in general.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are people here and there that are in every level.
But I got some really interesting tweets coming out of it, so I'll quickly go through some of them. Aidan Rantoul says he would still attend and care regardless of results on the pitch because support is always, which is a message I think Zach would agree with.
Yeah, Slamo original.
Jason Ratagan Khan on Twitter says, my support is not contingent on winning. I was there for the 79, 88 to 91, 2006 and 2008 championships. I know what we can become. I was here for the 2008, so I'm happy with that. Listen to the 2006 one on the radio in Glenrothes in Scotland.
My dad was at the parade in 79.
We watched the Shark Club 2006, and then I was there 2008. That was fun.
Brandon Timko, BTimko912.
Employee of the club.
Yeah, I guess we should point that out. He says, I don't mean to be rude, and I certainly understand frustrations, but look at Chicago Cubs fans as an example. It's about how meaningful it is when you win. Those who stick by tough times are those who deserve to savour it.
So those who are around in 100 years.
Yeah, maybe Chicago Cubs was a bad example that he used there, but I totally get where he's coming from.
But the elation in Chicago when they actually won was like out of this world. But I don't want to experience that much elation. I'd rather experience a little bit of elation every 3 or 4 years.
As an East Fife fan, we don't win much. Our most successful period in Scottish football was 1938 to 1953-54. Remember it well. I've not had much success since then. So whenever you do get success, I do agree with Brandon, it means more if you're a small club. The problem is, in MLS, there's not really small clubs because everyone's meant to be on the same level playing field. We know they're not. But it's meant to be any club can do it. Colorado showed last season you can turn the season around and have a great season.
Or then turn it back and be awful, yeah.
Chris Nichols says, not only will they deserve to savour it, they will savour it the most. So that is true. El Canico, fair play to everyone who support regardless. But the front office has taken advantage of support by fielding a mediocre team, knowing supporters will always return. Supporters should show undying loyalty only when club management are ambitious and competent. This front office has shown they're neither.
Did you like or retweet that or?
I'd liked all these because it's easier for me to find when I'm trying to read these out. Okay. I also love this extra character limit on Twitter now. We're getting fantastic responses. Ken Funk, Kunky Fen, he says the team wanting to win is more important than results outright. If the Caps got to the Cup final but lost, I'd still be mad about the way they played scared against Seattle. Winning it all might justify it, but they still need to want to score, want to win. And I can get how some folk would watch a game and think they didn't play that as if they wanted to win. They wanted to try and scrape through.
So the difference in that philosophy of what happened in the Seattle games is whether or not you think the squad in the form it was in was good enough to go out at Seattle in either leg, or whether it just, Seattle was better and the only way we could win was by, taking the approach that was taken.
Yeah, but and getting back to what Bobby said also on the thing, he mentioned like mid-season acquisitions about how they help, the club and everything. Obviously, they've been scared of doing that in the past. They've always complained. They've said no, because a few guys didn't work out. Jarju, who was it else?
Robson.
But
that was. There was more behind the scenes.
Yeah, more behind that. One was the guy.
Nothing wrong with Barry Robson.
Nothing wrong with Barry Robson. If you just take time to talk to him, treat him with respect,
he was wonderful with me.
And as long as you explain to him what turf means in North America, he should be fine. But what did you? And Robbo talked about earlier. He talked about maybe getting some of his targets in summer trial. What do you guys think about this? Going back to picking up people in the summer, is that the way it should be going, or should we get excited over that?
Well, you look at the guys.
You get better players in the summer.
Well, yeah. You look at the guys that were brought in this year. Marinovic, now a starter. Noza and Ali Ghazal, now starters, all mid-season acquisitions. If you go back to last year, they brought David Edgar in mid-season. Took him a little bit of time to find his feet, as with Noza, we're trying to get fit. But the fact that both Robbo and Bobble, I'm going to start calling them Robbo and Bobble.
Oh, please don't.
Yeah, it's great. Robbo and Bobble. It's like a cartoon. It's like the Pixie and Dixie. And then, I don't know, who would be Mr. Jinx? We'll put that out to the listeners. Who would be Mr. Jinx?
As long as you call that to their face.
Watch that too.
As long as you call them that to their face.
Yeah, I'll call Robbo and Bobble.
I want to see that.
Okay. Well, everyone says Robbo. So Bobble.
Yeah.
Anyway, they both mentioned about acquisitions in the summer. So it does kind of point that we may not get a lot of excitement this off-season. And some of their bigger targets might be coming in maybe from European leagues this summer.
A couple interesting things. I agree with you, Steve, that for people who love the Whitecaps, this is an encouraging sign that they're finally not going to follow this mantra of, no, we're not going to bring players in midseason because it takes some time to settle. Because, yeah, there's both ends of the spectrum on that. We've seen players fail miserably. You've mentioned some. And we've seen some players who've done well, both in Vancouver and around the league. So it's good to see that they had literally had like an internal policy of, we're not doing this again. And they've fully dropped that. The other thing,
and it's worked for other teams.
Totally. So I mean, totally. Ladero is one of the biggest examples. Milano was the guy I was trying to think of before, who was the guy Portland spent $5 million because if they hadn't made the playoffs, Porter would have been out on the street. The other thing that is really interesting is the Robbo going 3 or 4 places this offseason to look for new players. I don't know if anyone remembers. Last year, he went to 3 or 4 or more places and didn't bring anyone back at all. It wasn't until way later that the players came.
He brought in Yordi.
Sowing the seeds.
That was way after. I don't think that was on one of his trips.
Oh, well, he might have sown the seeds, like you just said, during that time.
I don't think so.
I don't know. It's good to sow the seeds. It's good to put your feelers out. A lot of people can sign in January pre-contracts as well. So, I mean, there's that kind of stuff to do. So we'll see what happens with that. Now, we have to play this other little bit of audio from Bobble. It's had a lot of airplay. There was 2 questions asked at the end of Bobble's chat on Tuesday. One was from our good friend Harjeet Johal, and the one before it, I think it was Jay Janowar that asked. I can't remember, but we'll hear it now. But very terse answers on both of them from Bobby. So let's just hear this from Bobble.
A couple of weeks ago, it just came out of left field, and you and I talked about this off camera. About ownership, about this franchise possibly being for sale. There was another thing that was floated I saw last night about the fact that this team is hemorrhaging, losing millions of dollars. Can you please set the record straight for everybody out there about the stability of this franchise and also about ownership?
Yeah, it makes me chuckle because we could not have a better group of owners committed to this league. Both Greg Kerfoot and Jeff Mallett are on numerous committees at the league. Whenever I speak with other owners around the league, the respect that they have for both Jeff and Greg is clear. They're committed. Jeff, I'm not sure how many times we need to repeat it. I thought Jeff was pretty clear a week or so ago when he spoke to I can't remember which reporter it was, but he was pretty clear that they were in it for the long haul. So, yeah, and what happens is somebody throws out a comment, and it's gospel. Well, man, that's unfortunate, really, but that's the era that we live in. I've said it. Jeff Mallett has said it. Don't ask anymore.
Bobby, Carl Robinson's job security, will he be back? The Scotian assistants, what about them?
Are you kidding me? You're asking that question?
Yes.
About next season?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought you were joking. Why wouldn't he be back? There's no doubt about Carl Robinson. He will be back, and there's never been any thought that he wouldn't be.
The big question is, like, what minute was that that question asked, because obviously he was having it was kind of tense there.
Yeah, the first question from Jude Janner was asked 9 minutes into his 10-minute scrum.
Yeah.
The second question from Har was asked in the 10th minute of the 10-minute scrum, which altogether the two of them had talked for 27 minutes combined.
Yeah.
But right before I say anything, what was your initial thoughts when you first heard that, and what do you feel now about that? I've never really seen Bobby rattled like that.
Yeah, I thought he went a little overboard on the way he reacted. But obviously, like I said, maybe did he talk about Robbo in his job next year earlier in the interview or something?
Well, that was the thing. Like, he came and he spoke to Har and myself after the event.
Okay.
And he basically explained he was genuinely caught by surprise by Har's question, because it was in the 27th minute of the two of them talking about what was going to happen next season and their plans. And it had been very clear by that point that Robbo was coming back. So to ask that question at that stage, he just found baffling. And I totally get that. At the same time, though...
You still can't respond like that.
Well, to feign surprise that that's even a question is what I find surprising, because it's what the fans wanted to know.
Yeah.
Har was totally in her right to ask that question.
Definitely.
She would have been better to ask it at the start of the scrum. I genuinely feel that, and I said that to her afterwards as well. But the fans have asked that. It's been all over social media. It's been the chat, the internet, and the forums. It's like...
Which he knows, which they know.
So it shouldn't be a surprise that someone asks that.
Yeah, the thing is, like, obviously I have a feeling the previous question rattled him more, actually, because that has been asked. That's actually questioning the whole organization, the club, and everything, and the ownership. So that's questioning the whole thing.
It had been made clear. He was quite right to say, look, don't ask anymore.
Yeah.
It's been everyone's saying it's not happening. It's nonsense.
The hard question as a follow-up, I think that just put him over the edge. I think he was almost like at the edge after answering that question.
It was so funny, though, because after he answered Har's question, we just all kind of stopped and looked at each other, and that was the end of it, because it was just so awkward. It's like, I don't know, should I ask him about chocolate digestives just to lighten the mood? Maybe I should have. That would have been fantastic.
Or his favourite season.
But that got a lot of airplay on TV and radio, and a lot of criticism of Bobbo. And it's something that we haven't seen a lot of in the media here.
His response was poor. It was poor the way he handled those questions. In a climate where there's very limited media coverage, you need to be open to them asking all questions, especially questions that people are talking about on social media. He knows that, and if he doesn't know it from firsthand experience, his people are telling him that this is what the chatter is.
Yeah.
So it looked really poor. We know though that Bobby is virtually untouchable. This special relationship he has with Kerfoot, again, go read his autobiography. He talks about it there. This special relationship he has. What he did 30, 40 years ago as a player, and the other contributions he's made, make him untouchable.
He is a legend in Vancouver Whitecaps history and Canadian football. Like for all you think of him in a front office capacity, you cannot get away that he is a footballing legend,
and that makes him untouchable.
No, it shouldn't.
I'm not saying it shouldn't.
Yeah.
I'm just saying it does.
Well, he's not untouchable. I touched him. He shook my hand. There we go.
Well, I mean, as supporters, we've seen this side of him before, so it's not surprising to any of us. But
let's just end this section then with. Obviously, this could be a whole section in itself, and it's something we're going to talk about in future shows.
Yeah, for sure.
What would you like to see, just in the initial next couple of weeks, from the club, from the front office? What are you ideally hoping to see to send you into the new year in a good mood?
I want to see them make decisive decisions on who they want to keep. Basically, want them to see who they're going to let go. That I do want to see that, because I want to see, because by seeing who they want to let go, I'll know who they're looking to bring in, and certain players that I would like to see, and certain players who I would like to see upgrades on. That would be the reason.
It would kind of set the tone of how next year might look. Yeah.
What's the date on that? It's November 28th?
28th.
So, yeah.
27th or 8th, yeah. I think it's the 8th.
So I would be surprised to hear too much before then about most of the players. What do we want to hear? I don't know. I don't think you're going to hear anything good other than players going.
Yeah.
Maybe coming, maybe. But mostly they're going to, in the build up to the holiday season, they're going to try and have some feel good stories. So whether that's last week you spoke about your feelings of the highly likely signing of a David Norman, something like that. I think we'll see some or other young players or maybe WC2 players or whatever.
Yeah, and a big feature on how he's always wanted to play for the club.
Yes.
He's been with them since he was 8.
His father.
But you're also going to have, remember, we're going to have some, even though it's known, some seemingly negative stuff because once the USL season's over,
yes,
that will go out, right? So they're
but again, that they'll try and put a positive spin on that, which might be difficult because some of the players have already moved on. If New Zealand can beat Peru, then they announced the Meyer Bevan and Declan Wynn signings, and I get more positive news.
Now, remember, most leagues in North America do not like teams in their basically other teams making major announcements until the finals play.
Well, that is the thing with USL. The Whitecaps haven't been allowed to officially say stuff because USL won't let them.
Season, So basically, so don't expect 2 major announcements, but probably hear a little bit here and there.
I'd like just to see some optimistic news, something positive, just to put a little bit of a spring in our step.
Unless they go the Anthony Precourt route and
for sure,
and go quote unquote rogue.
That's major.
Yeah, I want to
before their season ended. Forget the season.
Over the next couple of weeks, I want us to kind of have a state of the MLS discussion, and I want us to have a big chat about that. Maybe get some folk from Columbus on the phone, because the more that comes out every single day, something else underhand and shady comes out in that, and it's just
What do you want to see happen? You'd love to see these things: who's coming in, who's going. But I don't think you're going to not for 2 or 3 weeks.
Although we do know some folk that are going, and we'll be touching on that after this.
Hey, it's Marco Bustos. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Take the last train to Clarksville and I'll meet you at the station. You can be here by 4:30 'cause I've made your reservation. Don't be slow. No. 'Cause I'm leaving in the morning and I must see you again.
I love the Monkees. Last year, my wife, she wanted to know what I wanted for Christmas. I got her to get me the 2 DVDs of season 1, season 2 of the Monkees.
Oh, can I borrow them? Because that was one of my favorite shows growing up. Because basically, I never got to obviously watch the first run, but when Much Music came on, I think in the early 80s or mid 80s, whenever they came on, they started playing all those episodes back to back, and I got to watch all of them.
Superb.
The Monkees and Erica M, if anybody watched Much Music back in the day. Oh. Those were the 2 things.
Bizarrely, and you don't actually know this is complete coincidence, I actually have the Best of the Monkees in my car, and that's what I was listening to as I drove in here tonight.
Excellent. And today, not today now, but November 12th, yesterday now, was the 51st anniversary, 1966, when they released their debut album. And this was, I believe, Last Train was their first #1 hit.
Got to see them last year at the P&E.
Minus Davy Jones.
Yeah. Well, minus Mike Naismith as well.
Oh,
it was just Peter Tork and Mickey Dolenz. But yeah, that was fine. But yeah, great band. Last Train to Clarksville.
Yeah.
Someone else that's probably getting the last train out of Vancouver.
Yeah.
We don't know where the destination is. Could be Clarksville. I don't know, maybe if someone's looking to move an MLS team to Clarksville. But we'll keep that posted. But David Ousted, we've talked about it for weeks. We've talked about it for months. We knew the writing was on the wall, partly when Stefan Marinovic was signed, but we had been told in the summer that he had been asked to take a pay cut. He confirmed that at the post-game press conference, that he will not be back. He was asked to take a pay cut in June, and he turned that down. Now, the video for this has not been put up on the Whitecaps site. Everybody else that spoke, including Jordan Harvey, whose future's up in the air, all those videos went up on the site. David Ousted wasn't, so I'm playing you the whole thing. It's about 6.5 minutes, so it's lengthy, but There's a lot of good stuff in it from him, talking about memories and also him leaving, so we'll talk about some of that after we hear from the Great Dane.
Can you just get right to it? Will you be back next year?
I will not, no. The manager and the club told me in June that they weren't going to pick up my option. So obviously I'll have to figure something else out. But no, I will not.
Is it disheartening with all that you've done with this franchise?
Yeah, I'm disappointed, especially with the last couple of months here. I'm proud of what I've done this year and the way I played. Obviously, I didn't get to finish it, which I would have loved, but it is what it is. It's the business part of this game, and it's disappointing. But I've had 4.5 great years here, and I'm grateful to everyone around, and especially the fans of how they've taken care of me and the family and made us feel very welcome.
Did they give you a reason for not picking up the option? Is it just down to money?
You'll obviously have to ask them. I was told back in June, like I said, that they weren't gonna pick it up, and that I had to take a pay cut to stay here. And I didn't think that was fair with the way I performed. So obviously we'll have to part ways.
How has the season been to you knowing that? And did you, once Steph came in, did you sort of see that your role was going to be reducing, lessening as the season wore on?
I never thought that way, no. I was 100% committed to performing. Like I say, I wanted nothing more than to finish on a high here, and I think 28 games I've played this season. I'm very proud of where I helped put the team, and my commitment has been to this organization, this club, through 4.5 years, both on and off the field. So I never had in my mind that I was leaving. I wanted to finish off properly, and then I think I did so.
You've always embraced life over here. Would you like to stay in North American MLS, or do you think you might head back to Europe?
I don't know yet. I'll take the next couple of weeks here to assess everything out of respect to the team, to my teammates. I haven't discussed this obviously with you guys. I haven't said anything to anybody, and kind of left it to the end of the season because I wanted my focus to be here 100%. So I'll take the next couple of weeks to assess what's best for me and the family.
When you look back at your time here, you came here to make yourself a better player. Do you feel you're leaving as a better player?
I do. I think I've proven the last 4.5 years that I've become a better player. I am one of the best goalkeepers in this league, and I think I've proven that over the last many seasons. I've been proud of what I've done here and what I've done with this team.
David, would you like to join up with your good friend Marius Rovda, goalkeeper coach?
He's back in Norway right now, so he's on vacation, so I'll probably have a beer with him when I get back to Denmark. But I know that's not the plan right now. Me and Marius talk. We're good friends, and like I said, in this world, I believe in keeping your friends. And when Marius left, I obviously still talked to him, but it was never a discussion between me and him to join up again. We'll see in the future if that's ever a possibility, but no, Marius and I will have a beer, but that's about it.
When he did leave, all the other assistant coaches remained, except obviously for Stuart. Did you sort of see that as, looking back, as that might have been the first step of your pathway out the door?
I don't know. I was sad to lose Marius because him and I had done a lot of good up to that point, and he's been a big part of why I've been successful over here as well, and then getting me used to everything over here. But if there was any indication of that, you'll have to ask, obviously, the coaches around there. I never thought that way. Again, my focus was to perform here.
When you look back at your time here, what are your happiest moments as a Whitecap?
There's obviously many, and I really have fond memories of everything here. Winning the cup, especially in front of our fans, meant a lot. And like I said at the beginning, the way that the city and these fans have taken me and my family in and made us feel welcome has honestly been amazing. And I felt that this has become a home away from home. I've got two little Canadians as home as well, which I have here from Vancouver. So this place will always be special to me, always be special to my family, and we'll definitely come back and show the boys where they're from and where they grew up.
David, it sounds very disappointing the way this hit. I don't want to put words in your mouth, the way this all came down in June for a guy who has served as well for this squad as he has.
Yeah, I am disappointed, but I won't let that diminish all the good years I've had here. That's what I'm going to leave with, a great feeling of what I've done here, but also what this city and what these fans have given to me, and that means a lot to me.
What do you think about the direction this club is heading? The season we've had this year and the way that it ended?
Disappointing for everybody the way it ended, but I think the club's shown this year that it's heading in the right direction. I think we over 34 games proven that we could be at the top of the Western Conference, and unfortunately coming into the playoff we weren't strong enough to take it that a little bit further. But this club with the players that are here will do fine.
What was your relationship like with Stefan when he came in?
Stefan's been great. Stefan's done exactly what he had needed to do. He came in positive. He came in to work, and he's done well in there. Me and Stefan has got no problem. I've been impressed with the way he's come in and the guy he is, and I think Whitecaps are in good hands.
Thanks,
David. Okay. Thanks, guys.
It's been a pleasure to talk to you.
Scott, it's been a pleasure, guys.
You won't beat David Ousted. Well, a few times maybe, but he had a good clean sheet record. Interesting stuff there from David Ousted. I was disappointed the Whitecaps didn't put that up on the site because I felt it deserved to. I felt the fans needed to hear what Ousted said. That's why we played that in full for you just now. Now that it's confirmed that he's gone, how are you feeling?
On last week's show, I said that I really wish he had played out the season, and not from a sentimental perspective, which I often come from, but from I thought it was best for the team. I thought it was best for the outfield players that he's played with, most of them for all of them a longer period than Stefan has, and I really think that should have gone that way. The off the field stuff, which I'm usually overly critical about. Some people say I'm overly critical about. You know who you are. You're listening.
A skewed opinion.
Skewed, yeah. I don't feel bad about. I don't feel bad about them not wanting to take his option. My understanding is, again, in the past, Merritt Paulson has said, "Don't believe everything you read in the players' union salaries."
Yeah, because his base is $360.
Yeah.
Although he's obviously not with base anymore, but his base salary is $360, and his guaranteed compensation is basically $379.
But I think he's been bought down.
I think he's been bought down with TAM.
Yeah,
or GAM or whatever. I don't know.
So
whatever.
his option would have given him a bigger salary.
Even bigger.
One of the things, Steve, I know that you maybe take umbrage with, or you question. Define being asked to take a pay cut.
Well, I think and this is just speculation on my part, but I don't think he's been asked to take a pay cut from this year's salary. I don't think he's going to make less. He would have made less next year, but he wouldn't have made as much as whatever his option year was. Like if, say, for example,
we'd heard it might have been about even up to 200,000 more.
Yeah, so say rounded up to 600,000. Say it's 600,000. If he's been asked, okay, we'll pay you 400,000. It's still more than what he's on the books for this year,
but it's less pay cut to what he's expecting.
What he's expecting, yeah. So I agree that for in that case it's a pay cut, but it's not really a pay cut because he's still making more than what he made this year.
I still don't think in a league like MLS you can afford to pay that money for a goalkeeper.
No, you can't.
Especially when you've got an international number one that just showed in the game against Peru a couple of days ago with some fantastic saves, just the quality that he's got. And obviously we don't know exactly what Marinovic's salary is going to be next year.
Yeah, he got paid less this year because it was halfway through the year.
Yeah, and it's tough to know what he's going to come in on, but it's going to be nowhere near what David was on.
But it's likely that it's double what he made this year. Or minimum double what he made this year.
Oh, for sure, minimum.
Do you think it was the right decision to play Stefan, Michael?
I'm a bit torn on it, but probably not.
Yeah.
I would have stayed with David. He's a goalkeeper. He knows the defenders. I think he earned it. He hasn't had a great last couple of seasons, to be honest. He's had a couple of howlers, but then Marinovic had a howler in Portland. So, I mean, every goalkeeper does that. I just felt it was a bit disrespectful to a very loyal servant of the club. I would have stuck with Ousted all the way through.
Yeah, same.
And he's disappointed. He said that himself. He would have liked to have seen out this season. And he feels a little bit disappointed about not getting to do that.
Yeah, I think we're all in agreement that he should have been the keeper going, like, at least, because he never had a moment where he looked like he wasn't the number one keeper anymore.
Yeah.
And again, on merits, not on sentiment.
Yes. Yeah. And he said on Perry Silkowski's show on Sportsnet Radio that him and Jordan Harvey both felt a little bit sad that they didn't get to see out what they had started.
Yeah.
Talking of Jordan Harvey,
he did get to see it because he did come
on
in the second
he
leg.
didn't get to make his 200th appearance.
Right back, Jordan Harvey.
He was asked, again, blunt, outright, are you coming back next year? Now, he said the ball's in their court, said he hadn't been asked to take a pay cut, but basically the ball's in the Whitecaps' court. They need to come to him with an offer. He's a free agent.
Yeah.
He is a player's rep for the MLS union.
Yeah.
And they fought hard for years to get free agency. He now has that.
I think he's at least going to get 2 free agency before he accepts any offer. Unless they come in with a double his salary, but they're never going to do that.
No.
Everyone talks about the LA clubs for him. Yep. I think the other option is the Texas clubs, right? His wife is a Texan, a proud Texan. So there are lots of places I think he would land what would be better,
and there's
family-wise.
There might be 3 Texas clubs not next year, no, the year after. That's right.
Harvey also kind of, I mean, I said you can tell he's bitter. He's trying to be professional, and he is professional, but he's bitter. Harvey, on camera, not so bitter. Off camera, heard some interesting discussions that he's had with certain people. It's safe to say the two of them don't really like how a lot of stuff's been handled by the club. I asked you this for Fredy Montero, so a quick yes or no. Do you think Harvey will be back?
I don't see it.
No. He was asked, would he want to come back in a secondary role? And then would he want to come back maybe in a player's coach's role? And he's not even thinking of that. And as to coming back in a secondary role, he's not really sure. He'd have to sit down and think if he wants to do that. I think he still feels he can be a starter, or at least challenging for it. I think he would challenge for it here, but it is hard then to go from being a starter since 2011 to now. And you've got another guy that can play left back and a guy that's on the left wing in Brek Shea, and we don't know if he's coming back either. So once all the cameras were off, myself and Har got a chance to speak to Brek Shea. So we're going to bring you that in full as well. It's just over 3 minutes, just to see if he's going to come back, and some interesting stuff from Brek. First thing we asked him was, did he think this was a good season? What was his thoughts of this season for Vancouver?
As a team, I mean, we made the playoffs. Unfortunate to go out like that, but I think it was a good season overall. We finished better than we did last year. Ups and downs, and it was fun for me. Great group of guys. I really enjoyed playing with them and hanging out with them off the field, so that really made things easy coming over here.
As a designated player on a high wage, do you feel that you've brought enough, or there's more for you to offer for the season next year?
I think anytime you ask a player, you can bring more, so I feel like I can bring more. I feel like I could have done more this year, but hopefully I'll come back with a better attitude. I mean, like a better mentality, and hopefully do more than I did this year.
So your first year in Canada, obviously a southern boy from Texas, do you want to come back to Vancouver? Do you like it here? Is your family happy here?
Yeah, Vancouver's an unbelievable city. Obviously, I'm not used to the cold, so it's a bit different for me. I'm going to enjoy some sun in the off season, but no, I liked it here. It's a great city, great team, good organization.
Do you expect to be back?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I haven't had my meeting yet, so we'll see. Obviously, teams make changes. I'll be happy to come back.
Now, in a league like MLS, folk get a little bit hung up on the money side of things, and they see that you're a DP. And do you feel that brings extra pressure to you? It's like, because folk, they don't look at like what you bring to the team. It's just, he's a designated player. We expect him to do this. We expect him to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime in this league, especially, people come at those players and just any player. If you have played with the national team or you don't, like people tend to put extra pressure on them. But I don't really put pressure on myself. I try and just go out there and try and do the best I can each day and try and help the team in any way I can. So it's not like I'm going out there and half-assing it. I'm trying my hardest, and so I go out there and try my best. So.
What do you think this team needs to do to go to the next level?
I don't know. I think we were close this year. I think there's just little things that any team you ask, you can switch a few things here and there and hopefully make that team better. I think towards the end of the season, we just missed a few points here and there that would maybe led us with more confidence going into the playoffs. But I think overall, team did well. It's just little things in any league to get you to first or 11th. It's just small gaps.
The tweet that Eddie Robinson sent out, I know you spoke a little bit to her about that before, but does that, you don't really respond much on social media, but you did to that about the hat and stuff. Did that really get under your skin a little bit, or?
Nah, I don't really do much on social media, and someone pointed out to me, and I'm not mad at him at all. Like, people are allowed their opinions, the media says what they want to say, and doesn't bother me. So, if people know me, I'm just a chill person. I go out, and so it doesn't really affect me at all. But I'm not mad, like I said. So.
Off the pitch, did you get much of a chance to explore in the interior, do any fishing, stuff like that?
Yeah, I did a few things. Obviously, I went to Whistler. I've seen some of the beaches and stuff like that. And like I said, this town's a pretty place, and I enjoyed the summer a lot.
What are your off-season plans?
I'll be in Florida. Like I said, enjoying the sun now, but visiting with family and hopefully taking my kids to Disney World and stuff.
Couldn't get away.
Brek Shea there. Now, we've asked us about some other guys, so a little bit different. Do you want Brek Shea back? Now, do you want Brek Shea back next year?
No,
not whether you think he will be, but do you want him back?
Unless it takes a pay cut or something, because I don't want him back as a DP. That's for sure.
He's on $625 base.
Yeah.
$670 guaranteed compensation.
They can buy him down for sure.
Oh,
if
yeah.
you want to.
Do you get sponsorship money from base for every time you mention them?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all about the base, about the base, about the base.
No, I don't want him to see him back here. I don't think it's a good fit. And yeah, he's not a designated player.
Kind of sounds to me from what Robbo said as well that he might be back.
Nah, I think he's just building up his whatever you call it,
value.
His value. And
He did mention him as one of the exciting players to look forward to next year. Did he not?
Yes.
Yeah.
And as Brek himself said there, he hopes to come back with a better mentality next season. So anyway, that's all the players that have departed or we think are going to depart, or some of them anyway, not all.
Yeah, not all.
We're going to be happier times in part 4. We're going to look at a player that's going to be here, Timmy Parker. And we'll be back with that after this.
Hey, it's Stefan Runovic, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Yukon Blonde there. I wanna be your man. I've never heard that song. I'm assuming that's kind of how they sing it. I don't know.
You heard it a little bit there.
And there's a lot of fans still do want David Ousted to be their man between the sticks. And fans will have a chance to say goodbye to David.
Yeah, the Vancouver Southsiders are having a gathering this Tuesday evening. I believe that's November 14th. Yeah, 14th. I think it starts at 7 p.m. Down at Doolan's. So,
is it not an American women's national team player that's in there?
That was so blown out of proportion.
I know.
Yeah, there were 6 American Outlaws I think showed up. Anyways, So go and hang out. Go and connect. Go and say your farewells. If you're a person who likes to get things signed, this is probably a good chance for you to do that. Or, get pictures or whatever, shake a hand.
Let's move on to happier things. Players that are here to stay. And one of them is good old Timmy Parker. At least I'm assuming he's here to stay.
Is he getting a wage increase? Because he's on pretty low.
Nothing is certain, but yeah, we've talked about a lot of stuff, and let's play that for you now. So Tim, end of the season, not the way that you would have hoped for it to end, but do you look back in it as a season with pride, or is there party that feels it's a missed opportunity?
Maybe a little bit of both. I think coming off last year to have the year we did have this year is something to be proud about. I think because last year was such a bad year, I guess, and then this year was much better. So looking at it back in that way is better, but at the same time, we knew we had something special. I don't think we fully capitalized on it.
The partnership that you've got with Kendall, we spoke about it a lot over the course of the year, but it's such a rock of a partnership. Playing with someone like him, you're in your third year now in the league. How have you seen your game in this past year kind of develop playing alongside with him?
A lot. I think part of it has to do with comfortability of finally being able to kind of form that partnership with him, and then at the same time, it's us just growing and getting to know each other.
You wore the armband a couple of times as well, but I know you did that at college, but did it mean a lot to you to be given that responsibility by Carl?
Yeah, it did. I think he did speak to me about it a couple of times, just here and there about it, just because it's kind of a respect thing. I think people, if they're able to respect you, then they can follow behind you. So I think it was an honor to know that some of the guys in the locker room were able to respect me like that.
The season you've had, you've turned a lot of heads. You were involved previously with the American national team in the camp. Has anyone reached out to you? Have you got hopes about being involved this January?
I got hopes. I was on the preliminary roster for the Portugal game, so I was hoping for that. But at the same time, I knew if we would have won in the playoffs, that probably wasn't going to be a possibility. So being that we lost, I still have my hopes up. But, it's just one of those things that you kind of got to wait your time, and hopefully your actions on the field and off the field can get you on there.
The kind of play that the US had this year, when you're watching that, and they did struggle a little bit defensively, and I know you won't want to say anything bad about other defenders, but when you see that, do you feel within yourself you've got what it takes, you can go and help this team and get that defence better and get them to the next level?
Yeah, I hope so now. I hope so now that they're trying to bring in a new cycle of guys just by missing the World Cup and everything, that I hope I'm able to contribute in whatever way that they see me contributing in.
Obviously the coach has moved on, but when Bruce was there, did he keep tabs on you here? Did he tell you what you needed to work on to kind of get in his plans?
No, I never heard from him specifically, but I've heard from past coaches and stuff like that, so I never was able to hear from him.
Now, your game has come on leaps and bounds over the last couple of years. What do you feel you need to do now, though, to take you personally to the next level?
I think just continuing on the path that I kind of had this year. I think I've built in strides about playing out of the back and then trying to be a threat on set pieces. I think it's hard when you have Kendall next to you, but he does create a lot of attention, so it gives me some opportunities as well that I should be able to score on.
Okay, talk about going forward then. You seem to be one of the most unluckiest guys in MLS. You had so many close headers this year. Fredy nicked a goal off you, which was clearly your goal. Did you give him a bit of stick about that?
I mean, I think I kind of said it. I was like the king of the almost goal this year.
Yeah.
I think I had like 3 or 4 that were on the line and other people hit in. So but to be honest, it's good to just get involved on the goal. And I think that's something that even though if your name's not on the score sheet, you're still involved in a heavy way.
Done a lot of chats today about what the club needs to do to go forward. Carol's talked about it as well. When you're playing at the back, you see the whole game play out in front of you. From what you've seen this season, how close do you feel this club is to being amongst the elite and the teams that make it to the finals and the MLS Cup? And what does it need to take this club to that next level?
I think we have a specific identity here that might not put us alongside other teams. So I think we might not never be the team that holds the ball for 60 minutes out of the game. But, we try to be dangerous when we can and kind of attack with purpose. So in that aspect, I think we're close. I think we're really close. And then obviously on the back end, just defending-wise, we take a lot of pride in defending and keeping out goals. So at times we weren't the best at it, but I think we have to look forward to continuing to do that, and then obviously we need to put in the attacking pieces that will help us be successful.
What's your plans for the off-season now, heading back to New York with the family?
Yeah, I'm going to head back to New York, and then I'll probably do a bit of traveling in the off-season just along the East Coast, and then I'll be back on the West Coast going to California for a little bit, so it'll be nice.
Well, good luck with everything. It's been a pleasure watching this season, Tim, and look forward to seeing you back next year.
Yeah.
That's great. Thanks so much, man.
Thank you.
Timmy Parker there, and
Timmy time.
Interesting way of wording that he feels the Whitecaps have a kind of different philosophy or a different makeup compared to some other teams. It's a nice way of saying we don't hold on to the ball, we can't possess the ball, but hey, we still win.
Yeah, good point.
Can't knock it.
Now, Tim Parker and Kendall Waston obviously are the main parts of that back line right
Rocks.
now. And then you got going up from there, we're assuming Eli Gazal is the starter, and then possibly Noza, maybe somebody else comes in. Then you got Yordi, and then whoever plays striker. That seems to be a decent-looking spine, as long as we figure out what the striker is. Obviously, Marinovic is behind the two guys, too. So what are you guys' thoughts on that, and what it looks for next year?
I think it's fair to say that Robbo likes to build his team from a defensive footing. That's what worked in 2015. Then he kind of opened up a little bit more in 2016 and it all went pear-shaped, so he went back to that this year. So, fair to say he is building this team now around that quartet of Waston, Parker, Noza, Gazal. And I think he'll slot in the attacking pieces around that, and as long as he feels comfortable that they're going to block everything in the middle, he's then going to look for wingers and fullbacks that can go up and can defend and have a good defensive part to them, and it's all about those guys.
I really would not be surprised to see the squad blown up more than people are expecting this offseason and in ways they're not expecting. The interesting thing is where do you play Jordy?
Yeah,
because in some of those big
do you
games,
sell him to Peru?
Yeah. Or in some of those big games, we've talked about how he's gone missing. So it will be interesting to see if they, who they bring in at striker, because they're going to bring in multiple people at striker. And
they have to, because right now Eric Hurtado is looking like the only striker,
the lone survivor.
Last man standing.
Yeah.
So, it'll be interesting to see who they bring in as attacking options and what that means for Jordy. And does he stay central? Does he move more outside? Does he, crazy thought, are there actually two strikers with a playmaker behind them?
Oh.
And he's that secondary striker.
Well, that's the thing about Montero, that we haven't talked about this really when we talked about it in the first part, but he doesn't really suit the one striker formation anyway.
Not
so
at
in
all.
that way, it's not a massive loss because you need a striker. We touched on it last week.
What
that
did he
can do
say
that.
to you, or did someone ask a question about, do you like playing like this?
Yeah,
or
it's like, if I have to.
If I have
yeah.
to. I scored a bunch of goals. I was a little disappointed you didn't ask Timmy about, more specifically about other people taking credit for his work on the pitch, specifically his goals.
Well, I did. I asked him that.
Yeah.
I said about Fredy took one of your goals. Did you give him a hard time about that? And he didn't answer.
Now, Tim Parker, obviously, you asked the question about the national team, U.S. national team. Is it a little too early? Because I think that, you asked, did Bruce Arena talk to you? I don't think Bruce Arena had time to talk to Tim Parker because he was dealing with a whole lot of other stuff.
Well, he's still got to make those droopy cartoons, so, I mean, it takes up a lot of his time.
So, but I think now that, like you talked about, I think Jeff Cameron's the only guy over 30 that they brought in for center back. I think they're going to bring in certain guys, and I think they're going to just rotate them around.
But there's also certain guys who need to be gone from that.
Well, they only
I'm happy to keep them around.
Like I said, they only
yeah.
brought Jeff Cameron for the next.
No, Jeff Cameron, I think is fine. Omar Gonzalez needs to.
Well, he wasn't brought back, and then like Jeff Cameron wasn't even part of that last qualifying because he was injured or stuff like that.
And Parker does hope that he's maybe going to be involved in the January camp. She was in 2016 and then didn't have a great season after that. So let's hope he's not involved in 2018 in that regard and has a bad season.
Because you're superstitious?
No, because I think it disrupts pre-season preparation.
Touche.
You could also be looking, though, that in the future you've got Jake Nerwinski, Tim Parker as a half of this back four, or is that really thinking too far ahead for Nerwinski?
Yedlin,
I'm putting too much on him.
DeAndre Yedlin is still in their plans, and I think
that's true.
So I think he's got a lot of people to bypass in order to do that.
He plays in England.
I know.
Wow. No one has said this talking about Jake. No one's talked about the possibility of a sophomore slump.
Oh, for sure.
No.
That's why they need to bring in a solid backup.
Oh, yeah.
Because you talk about that's what happened with Timmy a little bit.
Yeah, I guess.
Not as worse as some other people, not as bad as some other people, but.
Flash 5.
Oh, Steve has surprised us here.
This is better than that.
5 to 1.
Yeah, the klaxon is dead. Long live the klaxon.
Oh, Chris will be happy.
So we do have a quick Flash 5 because we are. This is considering the Whitecaps, so you want to be in this. This is a quick Flash 5 because we don't have that much time, but this is best goals of the year. There's a lot of research into this, my opinion, not anybody else's, but you guys can definitely klaxon. I mean, I'm chime in. Honorable mentions, first of all, Andrew Jacobs from the volley versus the impact. 2-1, very nice one. Yordi Reyna versus Minnesota in that 3-0 when De Jong put that ball over the top, and he had a superb touch, like one touch, and then fired it past
the touch is what made that.
Yeah, definitely. And, well, the long ball was very right on the spot too. But number 5, Christian Teixeira, goal versus Sporting, May 20th in the 2-0 win. Williams off-field incident crosses the ball into the box. Bolaños chests the ball one time to Teixeira, who nails it on a volley.
That was a
fantastic goal. And I was in San Diego at the time, and I was in the room watching it, and all of a sudden I got a big cheer, and everybody was wondering what the hell happened there. Number 4, Hurtado versus Sporting against Sporting on the road this time.
What a goal!
The flick. It was Harvey that sent that ball in there. And then a lot of people say that Hurtado fluked out there, but
no.
I don't think
goal machine to goal machine.
Yeah, exactly. Number 3, another massive win that nobody was expecting, 4-0 in Dallas. Nicholas Mesida's goal. It was a bicycle kick from a tight angle. The Gonzalez kind of bungled that a little bit, and it would be higher, but it was because it was the 4th goal of a 4-goal game. The prominence of the goal didn't have no gravitas.
It wasn't like Blas Perez's bicycle kick winner.
Yeah, a winner, exactly. Number 2, Christian Teixeira, second time he's on here, versus San Jose in the playoff game. That free kick, perfect shot, right in the top corner. There's no way the keeper is going to get that. Also important because it was a second goal.
It was the turning point.
Yeah, it was a second goal. They were able to do something with that. Also honorable mention to Teixeira because he did that kind of against. I think it was Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. Dallas earlier in the year in the 1-1 draw. But the thing about that goal was he didn't. It wasn't in the top corner. It was kind of lower. Number 1, Yordi Reyna against Houston, picks up the ball on a turnover just outside the box on the left side, curls it past the keeper into the top right-hand corner of the other side net. So those are my top 5. Your guys' thoughts quickly?
I was a little surprised you didn't have at least an honorable mention for her. Jordy's bullet header versus Man City Light.
It's still a header.
No, but it was like sort of diving. It was a match winner.
That would be one of if I would have more honorable mentions, then definitely that would be
it was a
there.
Blind cross from Bernie. Like, I'm just going to put it in there.
Fredy Montero's goal line touch in from Tim Parker. I mean, we've talked about it so much. It has to be really, really right up there.
Tim Parker, goal of the year?
Yeah. I honestly would need to watch them again. I can't.
I know.
You put me in the spot, man. It's like I wasn't expecting this.
It's not like you've seen them all.
I forget things immediately.
That's why it's a Flash 5, because
Yeah.
you're not expecting
that was
it.
good. That was
Yeah,
good.
no, it was very good, and I liked the music. Not got much more for this section, but just want to throw this out to our listeners. We're going to talk about this in a little bit more detail in next week, maybe weeks to come. Number of clubs are releasing players just now. Still a lot still to get released. If there's anybody that's been released that really grabs your attention, send us a tweet at AFTN Canada, and we'll kind of talk about it in future shows. But from what you've seen, is there anyone that interests you guys?
I know.
Or are we not going to even look at...
I didn't even look at it.
His team hasn't announced yet, but I'm sure, I am 100% positive that you are interested in the same player you're interested every year.
Will Bruin.
Will Bruin.
Has he been released?
No,
he will
his
be.
Team's still, no, he's not going to. Is he really going to?
Oh, he'll get released for Fredy coming. They'll just do a switch. But yeah, if you do see anyone that's released that you think the Whitecaps should do, get in touch with us, and we will talk about that in weeks to come. But we're just going to round out this part by going back to good old David Ousted. And we haven't had a chance to do a proper Take Me Out section with him. So I had a chat with him, I think it was actually back in 2016, about his favourite places to eat in Vancouver for something that I was doing for Vancouver tourism. So we thought we would make this a departing David Ousted Take Me Out.
From the vault.
Take me out!
For eating out, have you any places, like say 3 places that you'd really recommend that you really love?
I'll stay in the north. There's a ton of good restaurants downtown. There's almost too many to get to eat at all of them. But if you stay on the North Shore, there's a great little breakfast place that's called Tomahawk in North Vancouver, which is don't tell our nutritionist this, but they have great pancakes.
I spoke to the nutritionist here, and she was telling me all the no-nos, but pancakes wasn't on it.
Oh, it's good. It's
fried
good.
chicken, she said, was the big one. So.
It's that's a great little breakfast spot. There's also on the North Shore, just off of it's on Welsh Avenue. Actually, there's a little taco shop, which is I think it's on Cambie as well. I think it's called La Taqueria.
Oh
That's over in North Van, and that's just fantastic tacos. One place I haven't gone to actually eat, which I really want, is top of Grouse Mountain. I heard it was really good food as well. So that would be probably a breakfast, lunch, and dinner day for me.
That's great. Thank you so much for doing that, David.
Went to the shop, I went to the chip shop, went to the burger shop, did it all around stop. Hey, hey, I want a Johnny takeaway. Hey, hey, woo, woo, woo. Hey, hey, I want a Johnny takeaway. Hey, hey, woo, woo, woo.
Hi, I'm Carl Valentine. You're listening to the AFTN podcast.
Welcome back. You are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, broadcasting from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. Talking of UBC, heartbreaking loss for them today on penalties. They lost a penalty shootout 3-0. That takes some doing.
Yeah, but heartwarming for the team that won.
Yes, who's another BC team, and they were the underdogs, and I can't begrudge them that. Won their first ever U Sport Nationals medal, a bronze. Thompson Rivers Wolfpack. Oh! Mitch Papadinets, TSS Rover, he plays for them, so well done Mitch and the rest of the guys. Ryan Glanville in his last ever game. Alan Connor, the goalkeeper, his last ever college game, saving 2 penalties. But UBC's penalties were atrocious. They really were.
Clearly they don't practice it. They do the Martino way of not practicing the
yes,
penalties.
It looked that way. So at least there was a bronze for BC. In the CCAA, it was an all-BC final. VIU Mariners beat Douglas College, so 1-0 win for them. Hosts, good luck to them. Congratulations. SFU sadly crashed out in the playoffs to an 86th or 88th minute goal down in San Diego, your favourite place, Steve.
Yep. It is. It's a great place in America.
Heartbreaking loss, especially because they should have had a penalty. Guy was brought down the box, and typical American bias, gives a free kick right on the line, as close as possible as it could have been to a penalty. But the college stuff is all over. You can read all the headlines about that on bcsoccerweb.com. And that brings us nicely to BC Soccer Web headlines.
Our favourite dancing moment of the evening.
Yeah. bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for local, national and international news and links. What's been catching your eye this week, Steve?
Oh, quite a lot. Actually, maybe a little bit too much this week. It seems like that even though the season's over, that it never ends. And there's always headlines going on in the world. I'm going to bring up a few quick things that are more long-related articles that are really good reads. On Monday, The Guardian brought out an article about how the FBI won the World Cup of fraud. They're really cracking down on a whole bunch of people, including 3 people more from South America that are in having their day in court.
Tip of the iceberg.
Exactly. An article from ESPN, Life Pints Glory at the oldest soccer tournament you've never heard of. A really fun article there. The 442 brought a curious case of the Aztec, how floodwaters and MLS ambitions overwhelmed an Austin soccer brand. I think it was a lot to do with what happened to him before. Last time when they got their team taken away. You talked about it last week.
Yeah.
And then The Guardian, another article, From Raul to Ruin, the rise and fall of the NASL once MLS's challenger. I think they overshot it a little bit with their analysis, but it's still a good read. Some quick hits. Evra banned for the rest of the season by UEFA, and after the
not a big surprise.
Rest of the season.
He's also been released by his club
because there was no point in keeping him at that point. They're not going to pay somebody because they're banned and something they did like they did. Another one that you guys might want to talk about, the USL president commented to Steve Sandor of the 11.ca about Canada needing its own league.
Well, he didn't comment to Steve Sandor. It was a conference
call. Oh, it's a comment.
Call.
Yeah, conference call, sorry.
Which, if you are a subscriber to the AFTN Extra podcast, there's still extra time. You will be hearing that whole conference call this week as we put out one of at least 2 podcasts this month, because unfortunately we didn't have time to put one out last month. So you're going to get a double makeup this month.
And obviously it probably won't be as boring as those NASL conferences.
Oh, no.
The article is that's significant in terms of football in Canada, because what came out of it was the fact that Ottawa is on a year-by-year basis in the USL.
Yes, I was very surprised by that.
Which is the opposite of what we've always been told, that you have to make a 3-year commitment, and if you break that, the dollar amount that goes with that is very significant. So this is great news.
It does make you wonder, though, what else you hear is actually accurate, just in general. Yeah. North American football just seems so shady at times.
Yeah. So, but it's great news for the Canadian Premier League that Ottawa, whenever it's going to start, Ottawa can be a part of it.
Okay, and as Jason Statham says...
If they want to be there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they do.
As Jason Statham had said, the Germans sack video ref chief as VAR system shrouded in controversy again. This is... Yeah. I don't know how much this has to do with VAR or the fact that they felt like he was influencing matches, but they feel like it might be scrapped during the winter break, which would be huge news in there, because UEFA and FIFA, they want to have it full-time, like in their... especially FIFA. They're looking to have it full time in the World Cup itself.
It's concerning that things have been gotten wrong with VAR, and it's happened in Germany
because it's meant to eliminate all human error. It's only as good as the person that's watching.
Yes,
I guess.
It's happened in Germany. It's happened, I believe, in Italy. We've seen it in MLS. It's almost like the game is open to a different form of corruption or a different form of influence, and so it's unfortunate. I really hope there's a way forward.
That's why I think that they should have one person do all, like one group of people, like maybe 4 or 5 people in one room doing all the games. Yeah. Oh,
We'd be totally unbiased.
Totally.
Well, they do that in Germany.
Oh, do they?
It's in Cologne, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Still
so
not working.
MLS
It's not unbiased.
MLS does have someone, I believe, in New York watching, but they also have someone in the stadium.
Oh, I know that. That's the person who's watching this.
Yeah, there's two guys watching in the stadium, and they're behind 20.
We talked to the head guy.
Yeah, 201 to 204 at BC Place. They're behind there watching. One of the guys is a guy who has worked for in the CSA in the past.
Yeah. Okay. And then another piece from Hong Kong. They were kind of warning Hong Kong supporters that not to boo the Chinese national anthem.
Yeah.
It didn't work out because on Thursday they booed.
Yeah.
When you tell somebody not to do something, they're going to do it.
Exactly.
In Greece, Greek soccer officials have stand trial for match fixing. This is up to 28 owners/businessmen that look like they're going to be charged. I think including the Nottingham Forest owner. I think he's involved in it somewhere. I read that in another article somewhere else. Another FIFA, UEFA kind of thing. They're talking about global expansion of the Nations League, which will replace international friendlies. They're making it more of a competition. What do you guys think? Do you think that's...
I don't mind that because I hate friendlies.
But you also don't want to put more stress on players, too, because that's more competition for them, where they'll be playing for stuff.
I mean, that was, in all seriousness, one of the reasons I didn't go to the US-Canada game on Thursday. I just have very little time for friendlies in general.
But you look at this friendly series today and this past Thursday, it was really meaningful. Canada had at least 3 new players that played for the first time. If my memory serves me correctly, it was their debuts.
And they had 6 today.
Was it 6 today?
6 teenagers basically were playing.
They weren't all making their debut.
Not all making debuts, but they were in the lineup at one point.
I think there was at least 3 making their debut. Anyways, the football was really good here on Thursday. Today, it was less so if you're Canadian.
Obviously by scoreline, yeah.
No, but having watched the game, it was not. It was very. They were lacking chances, lacking ability going forward. It looked a little bit more like less direct, more. Let's call it transitional football.
Oh, right. Genuine question. Now, this might surprise you guys. I'm not Canadian, so just to throw this out to you, Mike Martinago said, can you really consider the US-Canada a rivalry when Canada hasn't won since 2001, 33, 34 games and counting?
Yes.
It's not a rivalry in the case that it's obviously on the same playing level, but it is a rivalry in that they're next to each other.
Yeah.
It's a geography. They could be different rivals.
Look within your own country.
Yeah.
And even now, with the form and the shape that Rangers is in Celtic has... since their return to the top flight, has hammered them most games,
still a rival.
And it's still a massive rivalry.
You have to think Mike Martinago's American now, so that's probably why.
Okay, and FIFA Pro, kind of made news where they kind of dropped a bid to end the transfer system. It's nothing in the concrete, nothing they really announced, but they will be working on it over the next year, six years. They say, at least they have a 6-year agreement. World Cup, a big kind of news concerning Qatar. First of all, there was a report by an internal FIFA group that they urged to strengthen workers' rights in Russia and Qatar, and then there was some reports leaked and reported about that their UAE, which is United Arab Emirates, is planning to use financial warfare to undermine Qatar's 22 hosts.
And we've talked about that in the past, right? With what's been going on with the blockade and it's crazy. This whole rights thing, like, why is this? Why are they like this? You should have been talking about this at the beginning.
Yeah.
Or places should have been disqualified if they knew that they were going to use.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then obviously FIFA's also trying to fix that whole voting system too, because they're saying that they're not going to have secret voting. They're going to publish who votes for who for the 2026 World Cup. So that gives everybody a little bit of hope. Getting to MLS.
So we'll all see who votes for Canada.
Exactly. MLS, they're giving, there was a couple of expansion updates. First of all, Nashville gets approved for that $275 million stadium. It's by a wide margin. Cincinnati is looking to build a soccer-specific stadium because they feel that Nashville is kind of moving ahead of them.
Yeah, I've seen some of the plans for that. I spoke to Alan Koch about it a few months back as well. He says they're fantastic.
Yeah. MLS also gave an update on the Beckhams for Miami franchise. Essentially, he was able to buy 3 more acres. That kind of gives him the land that he needs to build a stadium.
Oh, posh.
A couple of quick hits on MLS from the site itself. There was a report that Atlanta turned down 8-figure offers for Almiron and Martinez.
Well, it's interesting to hear these amounts come out because
20 to 25 for Almiron and then
massive.
10 million for Martinez.
Because this was mentioned in the summer that they got offers and turned them down, I think.
Yeah.
And so did Dallas had offers for players and stuff. It makes you ask the question: what is the limit, right? If you get an offer for a player and it's really good, when can you say no? Obviously, Atlanta said no, Dallas had said no, but I think that's an important question for people to be asking.
Yeah, I mean, to turn down 20 to 25 million is massive for a team like Atlanta. They obviously have high hopes of spending even more, obviously, next year to try and really go for it.
Or Tata thinks he'll be able to get more for him in a year from now.
Yeah, maybe.
And then NASL news, we talked about the ruling that they got denied. They are looking to appeal that ruling, and they're hoping that, I don't see it happening, but they're going to a place where a court that has dealt with a lot of sports rulings in the past. So U.S. soccer presidency, we've got a couple of new candidates. Kyle Martino, he follows me. So he's got my vote, even though I can't vote. He's taking a hiatus.
Very easily won.
Yeah, if you follow me, you get my vote.
Fraudulent voting.
That's not fraudulent.
He's not paying me. I'm just saying he follows me. I'm going to vote for him.
Okay, I'm sorry for besmirching your good name.
NBC, so he's going to run for a soccer president. When he tweeted that out, I thought it was a joke or something, but I wasn't 100% sure. But he's very serious about it.
Well, you send him a DM, get him on the show.
I should, yeah. Another one who is kind of like similar to Galati. So this kind of, if this guy runs, maybe Galati's not going to run. Carlos Cordero, and they both of them will join Steve Gans, the Massachusetts lawyer, Paul Lapointe, Eric Winalda, everybody knows him.
Yep.
And nobody knows about Galati. He hasn't announced anything yet.
You saw Winalda's free kick goal, right? In '94. You were you not at U.S. Switzerland?
Oh, I was, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, but he gets my vote.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
And as usual, we're going to end this headlines with the Columbus City, Columbus itself, Columbus Crew, whether they're going to move cities. The city leaders and Columbus supporter group are looking to meet with the owner and MLS commissioner next week. It's going to be in New York, so it's not even going to be in the Columbus. So they're going to make them travel to New York. It's going to be November 15th they're going to meet. And then there was another article from Austin about the council in Austin welcoming the idea of a Major League Soccer.
I read there's a journalist there that was tweeting out how that council meeting went. They're so clueless. They do not understand soccer.
Yeah.
They just think, this is a chance to bring something to our city.
Yeah.
It was embarrassing reading some of the proposals that were put forward and motions.
One of the many infuriating things about the whole Columbus situation is when you read that first article you mentioned there, Steve, is that this is not a city where no one wants the team there.
Yeah.
There's literally people willing to buy the team to keep it there. And Precourt wants to move it because he wants to move it.
This thinks of, and I think it was maybe somebody mentioned it on Twitter or something. This was the same thing as what happened to NBA teams, Grizzlies in Vancouver and the Sonics in Seattle. Owners came in there acting like they were looking to keep the team there, and they eventually moved them to wherever they could move them.
Yeah. So a great range of headlines there. One thing which we didn't mention, but want to give a big shout out for some Canadian success. NASL, Mark DeSantos, love him or hate him, he has taken 3 different teams to 3 championships over three seasons. He's done a fantastic coaching job. San Francisco Deltas won the NASL Soccer Bowl today. Could be the last game they ever play. Could be the last game that the league ever has, but well done, Deltas.
And you mentioned there's 4 Canadians on the team, right?
There was 5 Canadians altogether played in the final today.
Yeah.
And Mark DeSantis as head coach. So
unbelievable.
I always support my San Francisco teams. Big 49ers fan. I'm a member of San Francisco City USL PDL team. So wish the Deltas well, but it's not looking good for them. Anyway, just before we finish this week's show, it's time for this week's Wavelength. Have I got a toe tapper for you tonight? This goes back to 1998. It's a band called The George Squares, also known as Michael Derrick, the lead singer of Prolapse. I'm sure you all recognise the vocals when you hear that. This is just a song about Scotland, World Cups, and it's called 74 to 98, Easy, Easy.
And I just want to mention that the best part of this is that it's under 3 minutes.
Yes, I think everyone will agree.
I was living in a world of make-believe when my best friend wrote and told me that there would be a game in Paris City.
The first time I ever seen Scotland play was in a World Cup final. Hammed in 92 or 93, under 16s, Scotland versus UAE. I'd been with my brother the week before to watch the Brazilian boys take some terrible drubbing to some third world country at Bud Park. But this was a World Cup final. We were with my dad in the Rangers end. Half my home team were there. The whole of Hampden was tartan and there was a buzz in the air. At half time we were 2-0 up. We were going to win the World Cup. Cracker, a total 1 million yarder, off the bar and into the corner. Iceland, it always took them longer. 3-0, a 2-pointer. Once more, the trail was longer. Our emphasis was always coming. A few 40s with Samba woman. First goal was a fluke. I saw the last time a pie and gave my dad a reassuring look. We were still winning. One goal wouldn't stop Hampden from singing. Neither would their second. The other boys were tiring and my bovril was cold. But we weren't going to give up 15 minutes for lifting the World Cup. The game was decided in penalties, and I decided for what must have been the 4th or 5th time in my life never to watch Scotland play again.
Easy, easy.
There was unified clapping in the studio.
See, I told you it was a toe tapper. Fantastic song. The George Squares there. From a 1998 split single. You can also get it on an album that was released this year, The Sexy World of Mr. Michael Derrick. It's available on cassette or as download. £5 gets you the cassette and the download. £3.50 gets you the download. Check that out on Bandcamp. That is the best track of the whole 15, just to let everyone know. Anyway, that is pretty much it for this week's show. We'll be back with more songs about football violence next week. But until then, Zach, let everyone know where they can find you online.
On the Twitter, I am at ZacharyAM, and I'm a part of the Movement Curva Collective.
And you can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada. Read all our stuff away from the numbers, aftn.ca. Also, the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com. Give us a follow on Instagram at AFTN Soccer. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/AFTN Canada. Until next time, thanks for listening. Take care. And mon whatever team you can find playing in a public park this weekend.
Going to your first match is an experience you'll never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.